All right, so this idea I've noticed lately with the ChatGPT is this. I've been using it for a while. It's the one I've used for the longest amount of time, and I pop in back and forth between things. I wonder if in the future, one of the real values of an AI, whichever platform, it's almost like, we chose, I'm on Instagram, and the reason I'm not leaving Instagram is it'd be too hard to leave Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that I go back to ChatGPT for certain things is it has this archive now of everything we've ever talked about, and I don't have to retune and educate and blah blah. Whereas I go to Claude and it's like, oh, not this again. I'm dealing with a child, and the idea you had was, are these AIs without memory? Are they children? Are they evolved? And so I'm getting this idea that, perhaps, a year, 5, 10 years of use in an LLM
Right.
will sort of as an asymptote.
It
narrow
really
down
knows
on
you at that point.
right? Have you had that? What's your take on that?
I mean, I think about Westworld all the time, and that without memory, the AI bots were not human, were not alive until they had a memory, until they could actually have a memory. And I think about Severance, and where the guy goes in and he doesn't have his memory of his other life, and then who is he? They're essentially babies again. And so I hadn't thought about AI in the way that you had, but it's 100% true. Like, is ChatGPT going to be radically transformative when it understands me to such a bigger depth, and it's growing too at the same time, right? And so we're dealing with the baby version of it, but in 10 years, does its memory of all these things that we've told it, is that like super transformational? Yes. Yeah. And then like you said, how do you move that to somewhere else, right? We all had the days, not if you're old enough, of MySpace, and then Facebook, and then Instagram, and then wherever we are now. And you had to make that move each time, but memory was a part of it, but I don't know that it was as critical as when you're dealing with something that's trying to communicate with you.
Yeah. Another thing, going back to Severance, I really liked it. We're kind of teasing out here a little bit, is that, if you think about take any one of the LLMs, they're a baby in that sort of maturity sense, but they do already have all the information that they've crawled the internet with. And so in a Severance innie, right? They start life knowing language, how to walk, the names of the states, right? Don't they go over that kind of stuff? They have like the corpus of what they are supposed to function with, but they have no experience. And then
actually, that's a really good point. If you could feed a baby all the data, more data than I know, like all the data in the world, but then they don't know anything. But that also makes me wonder and worry a little bit about the ethics of it all, because if you haven't grown up to have been shown that, like, okay, when I do this, it turns out badly, and when I do this, it turns out badly, and when I do this, it turns out badly, and you've learned that because you've done it 10 times, right? And you're like, okay, doing that thing ethically results in something bad. If you just hand someone who has no experience on the planet all the knowledge on the planet, how does that end up?
Boy, I don't know. I bet we're going to find out, though. That sounds like something that they will figure out eventually. And it's loading someone's 10 years experience on one of the LLMs into a robot's head. Maybe that's how that happens. That's our leap to Skylink, and then